Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a story today, the story of a fascinating figure from early Islam, Ukasha ibn Mihsan.
Ukasha ibn Mihsan.
And for our listeners who may not know, he was a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, known for, I guess, being really eager to do good deeds, right?
Yes, he was known for preceding others in good deeds.
Yeah, and that's actually where the saying "Sabakwaka biha Ukasha" comes from, meaning Ukasha preceded you to it.
Right.
Like he was already there.
Yeah,
It's pretty remarkable, actually, how his name became so synonymous with this idea of being, a forerunner in good deeds that it's even used in poetry and dream interpretation.
it is. It's actually used as like a theme.
Really?
Yeah, in poetry.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So it really makes you wonder, what was it about his life that led to such a lasting legacy? Like, what can we learn from Ukasha?
Well, I think one thing that's really interesting to consider is the fact that his family played a significant role in his journey. His family was actually among the earliest to embrace Islam.
Ah, so it wasn't like just him in isolation.
Right. His sister, lived to be over 100 years old,
Right.
and she became a narrator of hadith, those sayings and traditions of Prophet Muhammad.
Over 100 years old. Wow.
Mhm.
That means she was actually there during those like really pivotal early days.
Yes, she was. And that role, the role of Hadith narrator, that's really significant, I think, because
Yeah.
it kind of speaks to the emphasis they placed on preserving the Prophet's teachings.
Right. It was taken very seriously.
Yes. And then you have Uqash's brother, Abu Sinan, who is believed by some scholars to have been the very first person to make a specific pledge with the Prophet at Hudaybiyah.
Okay. So, Hudaybiyah.
Yeah.
For those of us who might need a refresher, what exactly was the significance of the pledge at Hudaybiyah?
Well, Hudaybiyah was a very crucial moment in early Islamic history. It was a time of treaty and reconciliation. And so this pledge that Abu Sinan took, it really signified a deep, deep commitment to the Prophet and the growing Muslim community. So you see, Ukasha came from a family that was already deeply rooted in the faith. And this likely, shaped his own path.
That's amazing how this context really sheds light on Ukasha's own dedication. It wasn't just like a personal choice. It was part of this family like legacy.
Right.
Now, when it comes to Ukasha's story, one of the most famous incidents is the story of like the promise of paradise, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So the Prophet Muhammad announced that 70,000 people from his community would enter paradise without questioning or punishment.
Okay.
And so Ukasha being, the go-getter that he was, he asked the Prophet, like, straight up, can I be included in this special group?
He didn't waste any time.
No, he didn't. And the Prophet confirmed to him that he was already among them. But then another man asked for the same guarantee.
Oh, interesting. So what happened then?
Well, the Prophet responded with, you, Ukasha, preceded you to it. That famous phrase, Sabakwaka biha Ukasha.
You're so iconic. It's almost as iconic as like Ukasha himself. But this does raise some questions, doesn't it? Like, why was Ukasha considered more deserving than this other man? I mean, what's going on there?
Right. This is something that has sparked a lot of discussion among scholars. Some believe it's a testament to the exceptional nature of Ukasha's character, that
Yeah.
his good deeds were just of greater weight in God's eyes. And then others suggest that maybe the other man wasn't sincere, maybe even a hypocrite. And the Prophet, in his wisdom, he chose not to kind of expose him directly.
So there are these layers of meaning to consider.
Exactly. It's not always just a surface level interpretation.
Right. And it really makes you realize there are often like layers of meaning in these historical accounts, right?
Right.
But ultimately, regardless of the other man's situation, the story really does highlight Ukasha's reputation, doesn't it? As this forerunner, as someone worthy of such, a divine promise.
It does.
So what else do we know about Ukasha's life, apart from these stories that might have contributed to this status of him being such an exceptional person?
Well, he's described as being a handsome and generous man, always smiling, and someone who just consistently exceeded expectations in fulfilling his duties, just, went above and beyond.
So it sounds like he wasn't just, like religiously devoted, but he also like embodied that virtue in like his everyday life.
Exactly.
He wasn't just going through the motions. He was genuinely striving to be like the best version of himself.
Exactly. And that striving wasn't limited to just personal piety. He was also appointed as a commander of 40 men.
Oh, wow.
And by all accounts, was successful in this role as well.
So we see leadership qualities in him as well.
Yeah, leadership, a natural ability to inspire and guide others.
Impressive. He really seemed to excel like in all aspects of his life. Okay, but now I can't resist. We have to talk about the story of the miraculous sword.
Yes.
The sword. It takes place during the Battle of Badr, right?
It does. The Battle of Badr, a decisive moment for the early Muslim community. And Ukasha is in the heat of battle,
Mm.
and his sword breaks.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Can you imagine the panic?
I can only imagine in the middle of a battle and suddenly you're weaponless.
Exactly. So Ukasha, in a moment of desperation, he appeals to the prophet, "What should I do?" And the prophet hands him a stick and says, "Fight with this."
A stick? Wait, are you serious? A stick?
I am serious. And Ukasha, without hesitation, without a moment's thought, takes the stick and he swings. And in that instant, it transforms into this magnificent sword.
Yes.
Just like that, a unique sword, instantly recognizable. It's quite a dramatic scene.
Wow, what a testament to like faith and unwavering trust. I bet that sword became like a legendary artifact, among the companions.
Oh, absolutely. It became a symbol of divine intervention.
Wow. And this miracle, it actually relates directly to that phrase, Sabakwaka biha Ukasha, doesn't
It
it?
does.
Because it was his willingness to fight, even with a simple stick, his absolute surrender to the prophet's guidance, that earned him this extraordinary blessing.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, if we sometimes hold back waiting for the perfect resources or circumstances when really what we need is that same kind of like unwavering action, just going for it.
It's a powerful lesson, isn't it?
It is.
And, you might think that someone who's, been guaranteed a place in paradise might kind of relax a bit, rest on their laurels, so to
And you're
speak.
like, okay, I've made it. I'm good.
Exactly. But that wasn't Ukasha at all.
Oh, really? So he didn't let this incredible promise make him complacent?
Not in the least. His dedication to Islam continued even after the Prophet Muhammad's death. When Abu Bakr, the first caliph, called for support to defend the faith, Ukasha was among the first to respond.
Wow. So he was ready to fight for his beliefs even after receiving like the ultimate reward.
He was.
It shows that faith wasn't just like a destination for him, but a continuous journey of action and commitment.
Exactly. And he didn't just show up, he was still wielding that miraculous sword.
Oh, wow. Imagine the impact that must have had on those around him.
I know, right?
What a powerful symbol of his unwavering dedication. It's like his entire life seems to have been about aligning his actions with his beliefs, right?
It truly was.
Hmm.
And speaking of aligning actions with beliefs, this reminds me of the concept of sidqlanaya, truthfulness of intention.
Sidkalnaya.
Huh?
Okay, so tell me more about this concept of Sidkalnaya and why it's so central to understanding Ukasha's story.
So sidqlanaya means truthfulness of intention. And you see this reflected in Ukasha's entire life, from his early embrace of Islam to his actions on the battlefield and even, his continued dedication even after the prophet's death. His life reflects this beautiful harmony between his intentions and his actions.
So it's not just about saying you want something, but it's about actually living in a way that proves the sincerity of your desire.
Precisely. And this sincerity shines through in everything he did. His generosity, his leadership, his willingness to fight even with a stick. He wasn't just going through the motions. He was genuinely striving to live a life pleasing to God. And that's something I think we can all learn from, regardless of our, faith background.
It's about bridging that gap between our aspirations and our actions, isn't it? It's like, if we want to be more generous, it's not enough to just think about it. We have to actually actively seek out opportunities to give.
Exactly. It's about turning intention into tangible action. Ukasha didn't just want paradise. He lived in a way that made it clear that his heart was set on it.
It's such a powerful reminder that we shape our character and ultimately our legacy, not through these like grand gestures, but through those daily choices we make.
Right.
Speaking of Ukasha's legacy, how did his incredible journey come to an end?
He died a martyr, fighting against those who had abandoned Islam after the prophet's death.
A fitting end, really, for someone who dedicated his entire life to upholding his faith. His martyrdom in the battle against apostates, it truly solidifies his legacy as a true believer.
It does.
He remained unwavering in his commitment to God and his message, even until his final breath. It's a sobering reminder of the sacrifices made by those who came before us.
It is. And it's a testament to the depth of his conviction.
Right.
But, Ukasha's legacy extends beyond just his death.
Right. His story isn't just about the past. It offers these like timeless lessons for all of us.
Right.
What would you say stands out to you as the most crucial takeaway from Ukasha's life?
I think it's the power of sidqlanaya, that truthfulness of intention. Ukasha's life, it's a powerful example of what it means to live with purpose and integrity, to align your actions with your aspirations.
He embodies the idea that faith isn't passive, it requires action and dedication.
Yeah.
It's a call to kind of reflect on our own lives and ask ourselves, are we living in a way that reflects our deepest values?
That's the question, isn't it? Are we embodying Sidkalnaya?
Are we embodying Sidqualnaya? I love that. And remember, Ukasha wasn't born a hero. He became one through like the consistent effort and unwavering commitment. His story reminds us that we all have the potential to leave a positive impact on the world just like he did all those centuries ago.
We do.
His life truly was a testament to the power of faith, action, and this unwavering pursuit of good. And it's inspiring to know that a legacy like his is attainable,
Yeah.
for any of us, regardless of our background or circumstances.
It is attainable.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's easy to look at someone like Ukasha, right, and be like, well, he was guaranteed paradise.
Right.
Of course he was motivated. But it's important to remember that his dedication, like, it didn't start after that promise, right?
Yes.
It's like that striving, that sabakwaka biha Ukasha spirit,
Mhm.
it seems like that was already deeply ingrained in him.
Absolutely. You're right. And that's a really crucial point, I think.
Yeah.
The promise of paradise, wasn't the starting point of his striving.
Right.
It was a recognition of the path he was already on.
Yeah.
His life is a testament to this idea of the sincerity of intention. Sidkalnia.
Yeah.
It's not about seeking reward. It's about aligning your actions with your deepest values.
Okay, so how can we, like, as listeners, right, apply this concept of sikalnia to our own lives?
Right.
I mean, it feels a bit abstract, when we're talking about something as grand as paradise.
That's a great question, and you're right.
Yeah.
It can feel a little daunting, but it doesn't have to be about these huge, like, life-altering decisions,
Yeah.
It starts with introspection, taking some time to actually reflect
Okay.
on what truly matters to us. What
Yeah.
are the values we want to embody? What kind of impact do we want to have on the world?
So, like, identifying those guiding principles that we want to shape our lives.
Exactly.
And then I guess the next step would be, like, figuring out, okay, how do I translate those principles into action?
Right. Exactly. It's about bridging that gap
Yeah.
between what we say we want
Mm-hmm.
and how we actually live,
Yeah.
If we admire Ukasha's generosity, for example,
Yeah.
it's not enough to just think, oh, I should be more generous.
Right.
We have to actively seek out opportunities to give, to be helpful, to share our resources.
So it's about, like, making that conscious effort to align our actions with our intentions.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how this Sid Kalnia concept, it's more about, like, a way of life, right? Than just like a checklist of Ds.
Exactly. It's about cultivating that sincerity in every aspect of our lives.
Mhm.
It's in those, like, seemingly small everyday choices,
Yeah.
that we truly shape our character.
Right. It's a continuous process, not a one-time achievement.
Right.
Now, you mentioned earlier that there are, different interpretations of the story about, the 70,000 entering paradise. What does this tell us about, like, approaching religious texts and historical accounts in general? Like, how should we approach these things knowing that there are these different interpretations out there?
Well, I think it highlights the importance of humility
Okay.
and open-mindedness.
Yeah.
We should be willing to acknowledge that there might be multiple perspectives and interpretations.
It's like embracing nuance and avoiding dogma.
Exactly. We should be open to exploring different interpretations,
Yeah.
considering the historical context
Uh-huh.
and really engaging in, like, thoughtful discussion with people who may hold different views than us.
So it's a reminder that, learning is an ongoing process.
It is.
And that even ancient stories like this, they can still offer us new insights and perspectives as we grapple with these different viewpoints.
Absolutely. And sometimes, the process of just seeking understanding,
Yeah.
that can be just as valuable as arriving at, like, a definitive answer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ukasha's story, it's definitely given us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
It's about, the power of intention, the
Right.
importance of action, and really the beauty of aligning the two.
Right.
His legacy as a forerunner in good deeds, it continues to inspire centuries later.
Yes.
But I'm curious, for someone who maybe isn't familiar with Islamic history,
Right.
what would you say is, like, the most significant aspect of Ukasha's story? Like, what would really resonate with them?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think, what makes Ukasha's story so compelling, even like beyond its religious context, is its universality.
Okay.
You know, his life is a testament to like the power of human potential.
Yeah.
He shows us that each of us, regardless of our background or circumstances, we have the capacity for greatness.
Right.
You know, he started as an ordinary man,
Mm-hmm.
but he became extraordinary through his dedication,
Yeah.
his striving, his commitment to living a life of purpose.
Yeah, it's that reminder that, like, we're not defined by our starting point, but by the choices we make along the way, right?
Exactly.
It's a call to action almost, to be proactive.
Yeah.
He's seeking out those opportunities to make a difference,
Right.
to leave our own mark on the world.
And to do it all with sincerity, you know,
Right.
with that Sid Kalnaya
Sid
that
Kalnaya.
really like permeated every aspect of Ukasha's life.
Yeah. Speaking of action, before we wrap up this deep dive, I kind of want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question to ponder.
Ooh, I always appreciate a good thought-provoking question.
Okay, well, inspired by Ukasha's legacy of Sabakwaka Biha Ukasha, of being a forerunner,
Yeah.
I want you to think about this. What's one area where you feel compelled to take action? Like, what's one problem you see in your community or the world at large, that you wish someone would address?
That's a powerful question.
Yeah.
It's challenging us to move beyond just like admiring Ukasha's story.
Right.
And to actually think about how we can embody his spirit in our own lives.
Exactly. Instead of waiting for someone else to step up, what if you were the one to initiate change?
Right.
What if you were the Ukasha of your community?
I love that.
The forerunner who inspires others to follow.
It's a call to action to be the change we want to see in the world.
Exactly.
And remember, it doesn't have to be this grand, sweeping gesture.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most significant changes start with, small, consistent actions.
Right.
Taken with sincerity and dedication.
And who knows, maybe those small actions, they ripple outward, right?
They do.
And they create a wave of positive change that impacts, like, countless lives.
Just like Ukasha's legacy.
Right?
Continues to inspire us all these centuries later.
Exactly.
Now, before we move on, I do want to take a moment to address something we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
The multiple interpretations surrounding the story of the 70,000 entering paradise.
Right. Yeah, it's an important point to revisit, I think.
It is.
Because it's easy to get caught up in, like, those details and lose sight of, like, the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this story, it really beautifully illustrates the importance of approaching, religious texts and historical accounts with humility.
Yeah.
And intellectual honesty,
Right.
It's okay to acknowledge that there might be different understandings or perspectives,
It's about recognizing that, like, our understanding of the past, it's constantly evolving, right?
It is.
As we uncover new information and we engage in, like, this critical analysis.
And it's also about being open to the possibility that there might not always be, like, one definitive answer,
Right.
Sometimes the ambiguity itself
Yeah.
can be a source of learning and growth.
Absolutely. So rather than, like, getting bogged down, I guess, and trying to find, like, the right interpretation,
Right.
we should really focus on what we can learn from the story, the lessons it offers about faith, about character, about the human experience,
Precisely. And I think Ukasha's life,
Yeah.
it provides, like, a wealth of lessons that really resonate with us even today.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we all have the potential to live these lives of purpose and meaning,
Right.
to leave behind a legacy of positive impact.
And to do it all with Sidquelnaya,
Sikwanaya.
with truthfulness of intention,
Right.
with a heart that's aligned with our actions.
So, as we conclude this deep dive into the life of Ukasha ibn Mihsan, I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
What will your Sabakwaka Biha be?
What legacy will you leave behind? What will people say about you after you're gone?
We all have the potential to be forerunners in our own way,
We do.
to make a difference in the lives of those around us.
Absolutely.
So let's go out there and embody that Ukasha spirit, the spirit of striving, of dedication, of aligning our actions with our intentions and making the world a better place, one good deed at a time.
One good deed at a time.
It's really inspiring to think that, like, even centuries after his life, Ukasha ibn Mihsan still has this power to motivate us.
It really does. It speaks to the enduring power of a life lived with purpose and integrity.
Yeah.
Ukasha's story, it reminds us that true legacy isn't built on, like, fame or fortune,
Right.
but on the impact we have on others
Yeah.
and the values that we embody.
And what's remarkable is that like he achieved all of this within a relatively like short lifespan.
That's a great point.
You know?
It really challenges the notion that we need like a long life to make a meaningful difference.
Yeah.
Ukasha's life, though shorter than many, it was packed with purpose and action.
Right. It underscores the idea that like it's not about the quantity of time that we have, right?
Right.
But how we choose to use it.
Exactly. Every moment is an opportunity to embody Sidkalniya,
Yeah.
to align our actions with our intentions,
Yeah.
and to contribute to something larger than ourselves.
So for our listener, as we wrap up this deep dive into the life of Ukasha ibn Mihsan,
Yeah.
we encourage you to reflect on what resonated most with you from his story.
Yeah. What really stood out to you?
Perhaps it was the power of striving,
Right.
the importance of exceeding expectations,
Yeah.
or the profound impact of aligning your actions with your heart's true intentions.
Maybe it was the reminder that we all have the potential to be forerunners
Yeah.
in our own unique ways.
Whatever the takeaway, we hope Ikwasha's life inspires you to approach your own journey with renewed purpose and dedication.
Absolutely.
Remember, you have the power to make a difference,
You do.
to leave your own mark on the world.
So go out there
Yeah.
and be the Ukasha
Of
of your own story.
Until next time, keep seeking knowledge, keep striving for good, and keep diving deep.